Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Yassine, and this is actually the first car that I ever record in a car, and this is a Tesla Model 3. This is my new car, so everybody out there, I'd like you guys to meet Friday. Ever since Tesla announced the Model 3 in 2016, I really wanted to get one in my hands, and this is the car that I've been planning for the last 2.5 years to buy. And I knew it was going to be kind of expensive, even though it started at $35,000. I figured by the time I add all the options that I wanted, it would probably be like $45,000 or $50,000. So I had to really plan for it, and I put a game plan together, made some investments, and I was able to secure the funds to buy this car. Now, if you guys want to know how I did that and what I actually did, then I can make a separate video talking exactly about that. If that's something that you're into, then definitely let me know in the comment section right below that like button, and I'll make a dedicated video just for that. But today I just wanted to talk about my initial impressions. So when you first see the car, you're going to notice that it's a really good looking car, and it kind of looks like a Porsche. But I don't mind that because I actually like the way Porsches look. So that's good to me, that it resembles a Porsche a little bit, but that it's also a little bit different. So I really like the exterior design of the car. And then you come inside the interior and you notice how simple it is and how minimal it is. And there's no buttons, no dials, no gauges. And I really dig that. And it just simplifies a car and redefines the way car's interior should look. And then you notice how big the interior is, and that was really important to me. So when I was trying to decide whether I wanted a Model 3 or a Model S, one of the things that I looked at is the interior space, because when I take trips I usually have 4 people in the car with me, and I wanted something that will make everybody in the car feel comfortable. And this car is actually pretty big on the interior. Even though it's about a foot shorter than the Model S, it actually has a bigger interior when it comes to headroom and legroom. And that's because the dash of this car is pushed so far back, even further back than the Model S. And the reason for that is, if you look at every other car out there, when you look at the monitor or the screen that you touch for navigation and all the controls, then you notice that the dash is actually pushed up all the way up until that screen, but not in this car. The dashboard is actually 4 to 5 inches behind the monitor that sticks out. So that really shows you how much farther back they pushed the dashboard here, and that gives you a couple of inches more leg room, and then also gives the people in the back a couple more inches of leg room. So it is really roomy inside this car, and it's really comfortable. Actually, after owning it for a couple of days, I drove it to Detroit, which is about 200 miles from where I live. That's like 3 hours drive going and then 3 hours drive coming back, and it was really comfortable, and nobody had issues with driving in this car. And although it might look small on the outside, it's really big on the inside. So if you're on the fence about the interior space of the car, then definitely know that it has a lot of interior space, and it's really comfortable inside the cabin of this car. And then when you get past all the looks and the design and everything that's presented to you here, you start driving the car, and that is what the second thing that I noticed is the drive of this car. It's amazing. Instant power and instant torque. So this is not like an internal combustion engine car or a car that has an engine. So those cars, when you step on the gas or the accelerator, then there has to be combustion where the fuel mixes with the air. There's gear change. If the car has a turbocharger, then the turbocharger's got to spool up, and it takes a little bit of time to actually pick up. And we don't notice that because we're used to those cars. But when you drive a Tesla, the power is instant. So as you step on the accelerator, then it's gone. And that is amazing. And that really comes in handy when you are trying to get up on the ramp on a highway, or when you're trying to pass cars on the freeway, and it's like you step on the accelerator and you're gone, and you can make your passes and you can get around cars, and the car just feels very nimble and it feels very smooth, and you can just weave through traffic. Not that you should be doing that, you should still drive safe, but knowing that you have that ability, that's really awesome, and that makes the car and the drive really fun. That also poses an internal struggle, at least with me, and the reason for that is because of Autopilot. So I got the one with the option for the Autopilot, and Autopilot is great. It does amazing work, especially on the highway, and it just takes that whole driving and feeling tired and fatigued and the mental drain that a long road trip gives you away. Because if you use Autopilot, which I did when I went to Detroit, I went there for it took me 3 hours, did what I had to do, and I came back, and I wasn't as tired. So I do this kind of runs to Detroit quite often, and most of the time when I come back home in the evening, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I could hardly move. But when I did that in the Tesla, I didn't really feel that, and that's because I used the Autopilot. I would say like 75% of the time, and it was like my second day of having this car, so I still wasn't 100% comfortable with Autopilot yet. But after that trip, I've gotten really comfortable with it, and now I just use Autopilot all the time as much as I can. And that's the internal struggle that I was talking about. Because the car is so much fun to drive, that it's a struggle between wanting to drive it myself and then using Autopilot. But that's a good problem to have, I think. And the final thing that I want to touch on is just how quiet the interior of this car is. So I thought it was going to be a little bit loud because there's no engine, and when a car has an engine and it's you hear the engine, it ends up muffling all the other sounds that you normally would hear and all the road noise. But Tesla actually did a real good job when it comes to just sound deadening in the car and just sealing out every single sound that you would normally hear in a car on the road. Now, a lot of people reported these cars having extra noise in their first production back in January and February, but the one I got is in the 30,000 or 31,000 VIN number. So the production has gotten better, and they have done a really good job of making the sound of inside this car really quiet. I don't know if you could see behind me, but about 20 yards behind me is a main road, and there's cars going back and forth doing about 40 to 45 miles an hour, and you could hardly hear any of that sitting here as I make this video. So that just shows you how quiet the inside of this cabin is. And on the highway, you don't notice much of it, so you could sit here and listen to music, chat with people in the car with you, and it's just really, really quiet. It's hard to describe that and tell you guys that through the video, but if you get a chance to test drive a Model 3 or a Model S or any of the newer Teslas out there, then definitely take that opportunity, because you are definitely going to see how quiet the cabin of this car is, and also how much fun it is to drive this car. So those are my initial impressions after owning the car for just 2 weeks and putting over 1,500 miles on it. And yeah, 1,500 miles seems a lot in 2 weeks span, but that's because I'm looking for a reason to drive this car. Anytime that me and my wife need to go somewhere, I just like, hey, let's take my car. And also it saves gas, so we can just leave her car sitting somewhere and we don't have to worry about putting gas in it. So it's been a blast having this car, and those were my initial thoughts. If you have any questions about the Model 3 or anything that relates to the Model 3, then let me know in the comment section down below. And also, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to know my plan or what I put together back about 2 years ago to make sure I could get this car, then definitely let me know and I will make that video for you guys. Also, I put together my own DIY urban charger garage charger, if that makes any sense. But I put up pictures of my DIY Tesla charger in my garage on my Instagram, and so definitely if you want to see that, go check that out. And while you're there, consider following me on Instagram. And I am planning to make a separate video about the DIY garage charger, so definitely stay tuned for that, and I'll have that out in the next couple of days. But if you're watching this video in the future, then I'll definitely put that in the description down below, so make sure you check that out. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay plugged.